Dr. Nidhi Khare. Students, welcome to the series Patterns and Types of Organizational Culture. As you remember, in the previous lecture, I talked about the patterns of organizational culture. Now today, I'm going to give you an overview of 4 organizational culture types, which are control, compete, collaborate, and create. This typology reflects the range of organizational characteristics across 2 dimensions that were found critical to organizational effectiveness. This model is by Bruce M. Tharp. Through decades of empirical research, scholars have established abundant links between organizational culture and organizational performance. While previously businesses were either unaware of culture's importance or believed it too difficult to manage, today they recognize that it can be used for competitive advantage. This is something that Apple Computer gets. By leveraging their culture of innovation towards product as well as internal processes, they have been able to survive despite incredible competition. But in order to use culture strategically, a company first needs to understand its culture. So students, you see how important it is to understand culture? Quinn and John Rohrbaugh determined that 2 major dimensions could account for such a broad range. Their competing values framework combines these 2 dimensions, creating a 2x2 matrix with 4 clusters, as you can see in this slide. The first dimension places the values of flexibility, discretion, and dynamism at one end of the scale, with stability, order, and control on the other. This means that some organizations emphasize adaptation, change, and organic processes, like most startup companies, while others are effective in emphasizing stable, predictable, and mechanistic processes, like NASA, Citigroup, and most universities. The second value dimension is marked by internal orientation, integration, and unity at one end of the scale, with external orientation, differentiation, and rivalry on the other. Some organizations are effective through focusing on themselves and their internal processes. If we improve our efficiency and do things right, we will be successful in the marketplace. Others excel by focusing on the market or competition. They say our rivals have weak customer service, so this is fair, we will differentiate ourselves. The key to using culture to improve performance lies in matching culture or attributes to organizational goals. Further working on defining how each of the 4 quadrants formed by combining these 2 dimensions is related to company characteristics was conducted by Kim Cameron and Robert Quinn. Each quadrant represents those features a company feels is the best and most appropriate way to operate. In other words, these quadrants represent their basic assumptions, beliefs, and values. The stuff of culture. None of the quadrants collaborate, create, control, and compete is inherently better than another, just as no culture is necessarily better than another. But some cultures might be more appropriate in certain contexts than others. So I hope typology is clear to you. Now moving on to each of these in detail. Control, compete, collaborate, and create. Coming to control, hierarchy. Hierarchical organizations share similarities with the stereotypical large bureaucratic corporation. As in the values matrix, they are defined by stability and control, as well as internal focus and integration. They value standardization, control, and a well-defined structure for authority and decision making. Effective leaders in hierarchical cultures are those that can organize, coordinate, and monitor people and processes. Students, good examples of companies with hierarchical cultures are McDonald's. They think standardization and efficiency. And government agencies like the Department of Motor Vehicles. They think about rules and bureaucracy, as well having many layers of management like Ford Motor Company with their 17 levels. This is typical of a hierarchical organizational structure. Next, compete. Market. While most major American companies throughout the 19th and much of the 20th centuries believed a hierarchical organization was most effective, the late 1960s gave rise to another popular approach, the market organizations or the compete organizations. These companies are similar to the control in that they value stability and control. However, instead of an inward focus, they have an external orientation and they value differentiation over integration. Students, this began largely because of the competitive challenges from overseas that forced American companies to search for a more effective business approach. With their outward focus, compete organizations are focused on relationships, more specifically transactions with suppliers, customers, contractors, unions, legislators, consultants, regulators, etc. Through effective external relations, they feel that they can best achieve success, while control optimize stability and control through rules, standard operating procedures, and specialized job functions. Compete organizations are concerned with competitiveness and productivity through emphasis on partnerships and positioning. General Electric, under the leadership of former CEO Jack Welch, is a good example of a compete organization. He famously announced that if businesses divisions were not first or second in their markets, then simply they would be sold. Their corporate culture was, and still largely is, highly competitive, where performance results speak louder than process. Coming to the next, collaborate. In the values matrix, collaborate or clan are similar to control or hierarchy, in that there is an inward focus with concern for integration. However, collaborate emphasize flexibility and discretion rather than the stability and control of control and compete organizations. With the success of many Japanese firms in the late 1970s and 1980s, American corporations began to take note of the different way they approached business. Unlike American national culture, which is founded upon individualism, Japanese firms had a more team-centered approach. This basic understanding affected the way that Japanese companies structured their companies and approached problems. Their collaborate organizations operated more like families, hence the name, and they valued cohesion, a human working environment, group for commitment and loyalty. Companies were made up of semi-autonomous teams that had the ability to hire and fire their own members, and employees were encouraged to participate in determining how things would get done. Coming to the last one, create or adhocracy. In the values matrix, create or adhocracy are similar to collaborate in that they emphasize flexibility and discretion. However, they do not share the same inward focus. Instead, they are like create in their external focus and concern for differentiation. With the advent of the information age, a new approach developed to deal with the fast-paced and volatile business environment. Social, economic, and technological changes made older corporate attitudes and tactics less efficient. Success now was envisioned in terms of innovation and creativity, with a future-forward posture. An entrepreneurial spirit reigns, where profit lies in finding new opportunities to develop new products, new services, and new relationships, with little expectation that these will endure. Adhocratic organizations value flexibility, adaptability, and thrive in what would have earlier been viewed as unmanageable chaos. High-tech companies like Google are prototypical create type of organizations. Google develops innovative web tools, taking advantage of entrepreneurial software engineers and cutting-edge processes and technologies. Their ability to quickly develop new services and capture market share has made them leaders in the marketplace and forced less nimble competition to play catch-up. So what are the spatial implications? Since each of these organizational types is distinguished by different attitudes, values, behaviors, and beliefs, it is understandable that the same workplaces would not best support their different cultures. A collaborative organization, with its emphasis on teamwork and sociality, needs spaces that foster and reflect this. Rows of high paneled cubes that might be appropriate in certain companies would be incompatible with the way a collaborative organization works and how it wants to present itself. So you see how each of these organizational types is distinguished by different attitudes, values, beliefs, and behaviors. In the next lecture, I am going to talk about another typology by Harrison, Handy, and Sayadin. And in the next lecture, I'm going to talk about the model by Bradley and Parker. Thank you.